the people it was supposed to keep an eye on knew it was up. So, much like everything else with you know, whenever you hear military intelligence, usually somebody's thought of it before by the time we get it. So, it did launch though. So, from what I understand, it did fairly well with what they were hoping it would accomplish. But I haven't heard of it flying since about a year and a half to 2 years ago. I don't know. I just totally blanked there. I apologize. What I was talking about earlier with civilian involvement in search and rescue cases, and something that really applies to radio operators. Anytime a distress call comes out, the Coast Guard is going to respond as long as the Coast Guard station heard the call. So whether it's me in the helicopter or a shore unit, somebody's going to take down the initial information. Now, unfortunately, not everybody gets on the radio and says, "Mayday, mayday, mayday, vessel named this in this position with this, and you know, 3 people on board going down." They usually don't have the time to do that. We've got everything from help to quasi-informative mayday calls, and even something as simple as help can actually help us find the person. But the more stations that we can use to triangulate that signal, the better. And that's actually where civilian assistance comes in. If you're listening, if you're on your radio and you're monitoring frequencies, you're scanning frequencies, the Coast Guard typically receives distress calls on 16, international hailing distress. And of course, I didn't even tell you guys that, right? If you hear anything like that, the Coast Guard has typically used stations that have received those signals, again, to triangulate a position. And using a bunch of other numbers in their search and rescue pattern generator, we've actually been able to successfully respond to cases with that little bit of information. So just something to think about. Again, if you ever do hear a distress signal, please make it known to the Coast Guard that you did hear it, because you might actually be very valuable in helping solve that case. The Coast Guard Auxiliary, has anybody here heard of it or know somebody that's in it? Yeah. It's actually a very good organization. It's, I see we have a Civil Air Patrol member here. It's similar to the function of the Civil Air Patrol. It's actually, Civil Air Patrol is still called the Air Force Auxiliary?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Bro, I think he just rented that suit. He was in a kilt last month.
So where the Air Force Auxiliary or Civil Air Patrol will respond or assist with overland search and rescue, Coast Guard Auxiliary does a lot with maritime search and rescue. They do courtesy dockside inspections to ensure that pleasure craft, you know, if you have a sailboat or something with, you know, an outboard, that you have the proper amount of life preservers, flares, and what have you on board. So the Coast Guard Auxiliary is actually a very good organization to think about looking into if you are interested in helping out these Coast Guard missions, particularly with your experience, again, in communications. And it's not something, from what I understand, that the Coast Guard Auxiliary is very known for. So it could be something that you could help grow. Just something to think about if you are ever interested in taking a look at it. There are links to it on the Coast Guard website, www.uscg.mil. And if you guys have any questions on how to get there, you can definitely ask Joe to how to get in touch with me, and I'll make sure I give you the information.
Joey,
I'm sorry. I didn't want to be too familiar without, you know, really. So the Coast Guard's role in Haiti. Everyone obviously knows what happened, very tragic. One of the beautiful things about the Coast Guard, and again, I'm not trying not to be too biased here, is because we're not part of the Department of Defense, and because our primary missions are such, we have a lot more maneuverability in a situation like what happened in Haiti, like what happened in Hurricane Katrina. The Coast Guard is actually typically one of the first responders on scene whenever something happens.